Alright. We're live. It's been a while. Not really, but it's been a little bit. And we're back. Happy new fucking year. It's Kurz here. And I'm glad that you are joining me on this special occasion on today. Because today is 2022 and in 20 minutes in my time, which is Eastern USA, it's about to be 2020 motherfucking 3, so get your hands together, get your shit together, and get riled up, because we're going on a journey, going into the new year, talking about some of the craziest news that you maybe have heard of, or might have missed, so stay fucking tuned to the show. I don't know why the fuck I'm so hyped right now, but I am, so enjoy that while it lasts, because who knows how long that's gonna last. Anyways, today, I haven't put it in the description, so we're just going to do a little shout out to our video that we're going to be analyzing, talking about today. It is about, I'm not even going to say what it's about, but I am going to tell you, you can watch it on DW News at your own time. Just check out DW News on YouTube. They'll have all that information right there, ready to go. So yeah, check that out at any time. Anytime, anywhere, wherever you might be. DW News is what we're going to be getting into today. And before that, I just want to say our background is in New York City. Today is December 31st, 2022. By the end of the video, it will be January 1st, 2023. So, fucking buck. That's how we do it out here. Alright. So, I'm gonna get into some recap of 2022. We're going to talk about some of the best channels to check out in 2022. And then we're going to get into the main event, which I'm not going to spoil, but it is on DW News. Check that out. DW News is based in Germany. Check them out at any time, anywhere on YouTube. And moving on with the first part of today's special event, let's talk about the YouTube, the entertainment industry, the influencers of our world, and shows that maybe just don't get enough recognition, I guess. I don't know. You know, this is brand new. I'm fucking spewing it out of my head. I don't even have a list of top tier sites. Or excuse me, top tier influencers, top tier shows, top tier YouTube channels. I do not have a list, but we're gonna just list some of credible candidates for the best entertainer slash channel slash whatever you want to call it, influencer. So let's get right into some names, talk about some of their videos, pop up maybe some of the videos in the background, so stay tuned. Here we go. First, I think that it's all established and all known by most people, and if you don't know, now you're going to know. One of the best true stories, one of the best narrations on the platform, and has moved on to Amazon Music and plenty of other places to get your story. That is Mr. Ballin. Mr. Ballin started his channel, I believe, in 2021. I'm not exactly sure about that. It might have been in 2020 or in 2022. Anyways, he has been killing the internet space with his amazing true stories. Go check out Mr. Ballin. We're gonna pull up one of his videos right here on the background here. So you're gonna be able to see some of his work up close and personal. This man tells stories that usually get the heart pumping, get the blood flowing, and is known for stories that, you know, the rest of the internet hasn't really gotten their claws deep into yet. And the way he tells that story really hooks you in to listening through the entire video. So go check out Mr. Ballin. He's definitely a candidate of the best influencer, the best YouTube channel, the best entertainer of 2022, hands down. You heard it here first. We're coming around 2023, but in 2022, Mr. Ballin really killed it.
I have to start today's video with a disclaimer. Don't go to Dudleytown, Connecticut. This is not a prank, it's not a stunt, it's not clickbait, it's the truth. I'm confident that at the end of this video, there are gonna be people that want to go. Don't do it. One, it's illegal to go to Dudleytown, it's private property. And two, as you'll see in today's video, there is a reason why people abandoned Dudleytown. It is not a safe place for people. But
so please check out Mr. Ballin. He has some of the best content on the internet, and I would say hands down the best true stories on YouTube, and also has transitioned some of his content onto Amazon Music. I believe it's on Apple Music.
In 1999, a father arrived
at a train station to
pick up his teenage daughter from school. But when the train she was supposed to be on arrived at the station, she didn't get off. And so the father just sat in the parking lot, assuming his daughter must be late and she'll be on the next train. But as more and more trains came into the station, none of them were carrying his daughter. And so eventually, this father just left the parking lot and headed back home, believing his daughter must have found another way home.
So that is Mr. Ballin. Please go check him out, support his channel, and check out some of that content, because I guarantee you will blow your mind away with some of the stories. And yeah, so check out his content. But now, for another, I would say, amazing player of the influencer space that has really popped off in the last few years is drum roll. Channel 5 News. With Andrew, let's go. He has been killing the space since I don't know how long, but really popped off this year with his own Netflix original show, original special. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I haven't checked it out, but it is brand new, I believe, in 2022 December. So if you didn't know about that, Andrew, new Channel 5, has officially had a Netflix special. If it is a show, I'm not sure. Check that out, but obviously check out News Channel 5 on YouTube, coming to you with some of the most uncut, real, okay, maybe it's not uncut, but most real footage that you'll see on the ground of citizens in certain places, in certain areas of the world that controversy might be going down at, and where other reporters, people maybe not be able to get the real scoop or the most uncut, uncensored scoop of that story. So yeah, News Channel 5 has been really popping off in the past few years, but I would say if there was, like, you know, an influencer based reward or YouTube reward that, you know, they did like at the music rewards or something crazy like that, I have a good, strong feeling in my soul, in my being, that News Channel 5 would be up there on the list. So let's check it out. Channel, I don't even know what the thing is. Channel 5 with Andrew.
Pennsylvania is still red, but starting to shift as well.
Biden has been getting about 70% of the mail-in ballots. By the time I got to Philly, shit was popping off. As more mail-in ballots rolled in, Pennsylvania flipped from red to blue overnight. This was a huge loss for Trump, and within hours, the Trump team actually sued the state of Pennsylvania.
Hemingway would not do well today in this culture. He was just the opposite of everything they're trying to woke us up today. If Ernest Hemingway were here today, I'm sure he would be totally canceled. No doubt about it. Counterculture is people that don't want you to do what you want to do. They want you to do what they want you to do. But that's what they're doing.
The ocean is the same as it has always been before man set about in boats.
There are 3 sports: boxing, bullfighting, and racing.
Do you feel responsible for what happened to the Sandy Hook families?
Yes, I killed the children.
But beyond that,
No, I went in that school, I pulled a gun out, and I shot every one of them myself. I mean, I'm guilty. It's true.
No, but
No, let's just. Do I feel responsible that someone that played shoot 'em up video games on a bunch of drugs went and killed a bunch of kids, and then the internet questioned it, and I covered that?
They staged Sandy Hook. The evidence is just overwhelming.
And there we are, News Channel 5 with Andrew. Check it out. That is, I would say, also top tier. Definitely runner-up for, not runner-up, but in candidate list for #1 influencer channel YouTuber of 2022. And we're gonna run up one last one. Maybe one that you wouldn't have thought of. Maybe one you would have. I know there's a lot of other channels out there that have done amazing work throughout 2022 and beyond that throughout their whole careers. But again, this is just the Kurz few few candidates for the best influencer, best, you know what I'm saying, channel, best YouTuber out there on the platform, on platforms, anywhere in the media space. And we're gonna give it to the last team that I can think of right now here for 2022 that I believe has the #1 spot, or is contender for #1 spot, is none other than Asmongold. As you may know, Asmongold is an influencer on the space of YouTube, on the space of Twitch. He has hot takes of all sorts of current events that are going down in the world that people are talking about in the media space. And obviously he started out his channel in a lonely world of Warcraft and blew up that entire space to utmost proportions to the day of 2022, where we see Dragonflight at its greatest heights, shown by our one and only Asmongold with such great, I don't know what the word is, antacity, and there's a word that I'm looking for, maybe you can find it, but he is so hilarious, not so, but hilarious, down to earth, has takes that 80% of the population probably would agree with, and is really all around, I believe, a character that anybody in their living room could say, you know what, yeah, I can see that, you know what, I would agree with that. And really, you as a viewer really need to check out all 3 of these contenders. Asmongold, right now, coming to you, Kurz 80.
What went wrong with gaming?
They've been my main hobby for most of my life. I
love video games. They've been my main hobby for most of my life, and now I make videos about video games, which is great. But recently, I've been analyzing new games and critiquing new systems, and I've noticed a slow but insidious trend toward games becoming more and more monetized.
Banned by face recognition. Here we go.
All right, we're gonna do our third, maybe written by AI topic. Facial recognition was used to bar a lawyer, pun intended, from entering a venue. And this maybe doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but it's a big deal. A mother accompanying her daughter's Girl Scout troop to a Rockettes show at Radio City Music Hall in Manhattan over the Thanksgiving weekend was denied entry after facial recognition software allegedly identified her. So this is before.
Did you hear that? It's time. We need to go even deeper.
Oh, good. Was this Iron Man?
Are you sure about this? PlayStation booth promoting Genshin Impact.
We become willing to pay for her.
And stop following me!
I understand that Genshin is very similar. Sometimes, you know.
Well, unfortunately, I, again, wasn't super prepared for this. I don't have,
Banned
some
by
of the
face
hot takes
recognition.
that he has. But he has some of the hottest takes that you'll ever hear. Some of the craziest, controversial, but non-controversial quotes that you'll hear on the internet coming from Asmongold. 2022, he really put in the work ethic, really turned out those videos at an all-time high for us, the consumers, to enjoy, and I hope that you enjoy Asmongold's content as much as I have in 2022, moving on to 2023.
Or be refused service.
So here's the hot take.
In setting like without your consent, and it is not for the general safety of the public. This is something for them to administer their own set of rules arbitrarily that is unaccountable to anybody. So I think that that systems like this should exist, but only in an opt-in setting like Clear at the airport. I don't think that people should have their information put onto one of these databases, and I don't think that people should have to comply with these databases or be refused service.
So there's a hot take from Asmongold himself. Check out some of his videos or all of his videos at Asmongold TV on YouTube. He's also got a Twitch channel, so check him out on your time. Give him some love, some support, along with the two other runner-ups, or not runner-ups, but candidates of today. We have, again, Mr. Ballin, News Channel 5 with Andrew, and Asmongold. Those are your candidates for the best influencer, the best video of 2023. Or excuse me, 2022, moving on to 2023. But in 2022, those three really killed it, in my opinion. They really killed it. Well, my friends, the people of the internet, we are coming up on 2023. It's moving faster than I could have anticipated. We have like 2 minutes left before the bell hits the dong hits the bell. And that ringing throughout the entire world sounds off. Well, it's probably sound off on some places already, but you get the idea. It's 2023. By the next 24 hours around the entire world, it will be 2023. Here, we're celebrating it in the next 2 minutes. As that bell hits 12. as that clock hits 12 and that bell sounds the sound of eternal dawn. Let it be known that this video is just getting hyped up, just starting. We will still be recapping the crazy news that is coming in from 2023 on to 2022 on to 2023. Moving out that news, we will be hitting it here first. Well, it was first put out on DW News, but we're going to be analyzing it here on Kurz, on this channel, and I might even bring it on to channel 8, so keep your eyes out for that. The ticking has started down in New York. There is 1 minute left, less than 1 minute. Here we go. Those seconds are ticking down, and my internet is frozen. Word, like, let's be frozen while the time is ticking down. Let's freeze up, everybody. Let's go. The world's worst fucking time to freeze right now. Live television, 18 seconds for you not to freeze on us. Don't fucking do it, asshole. Why? 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 Why must you do that? Wow. Well, it just passed. Wow. Wow. I cannot believe that. Dude, this is my life. I'm so glad I caught that on video. That this fucking shit happened on the exact time that it needed not to. The exact fucking time. Nothing else froze. Nothing else fucking froze on my computer. I'm on the internet on multiple screens, and nothing else froze. Nothing. Let me see how many people are in chat. Nobody. There's like nobody watching this video, okay? Like, we can't even tell, but that's fucking bullshit. It's not even the video, like literally, it's the video. I can pull it back to those seconds, and it will be frozen. That's how bad that is. That's how bad. Like, either a bomb went off, and they totally, like, scanned over it and made it look like totally normal, or these people were not on top of their shit at the most important time in 2022. Like, what the fuck is your fucking problem? Are you fucking stupid, internet? I am fucking livid. I'm livid. There's your bells. There's your whistles. This fucking shit. Fucking bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. What is this? Why is it so smoky? For a second there, I thought an actual something bad happened. I really did. I was like, oh my god, really? That would be shitty. Yeah, you broke the internet, folks. Your bandwidth couldn't control the 5,000 people that were watching, apparently, and fuck! Ruined my video. Well, welcome to 2023. Interesting way to get into 2023. Hopefully that isn't a, what do they call it? Foreshadowing of the rest of the fucking year, because, well, the video, it can foreshadow into the video at least. Well, not really. It's not really about lagging, but it definitely is a great way to foreshadow into the video that we're going to be talking about today. Just in the way that things, you know, maybe not so black and white as you may think. Maybe not so happy. Maybe not so sad. I don't know where you're at in life. But we're here to bring you the facts, to bring you the news, to bring you what is actually going on. Usually, well, not usually, we've been talking about the front lines in Ukraine. We've been talking about the front lines in American politics. We've been talking about a lot of different things, some silly shit, but today is a little bit more serious. Well, today is serious, obviously. You know, can't always be serious. I guess don't have a serious personality. I don't know. Anyways, we're still going to get you the news that you need to hear. And I thought it was really important to hammer home on this fact on today because for me, well, not for me, I've known this information. I don't know if it's been put on my channel. I can't really, go back and rewatch if I actually caught it on video or not. But I've been talking about this for, the past year, that this was going to happen. There was a video that happened on a channel I watch, I forget what it's called, but it does theories along with also informational news that has happened in all sorts of different things with history. Of course, current events is also history, it's just current. So there has been an escalation in the past few days of something that I have said is going to happen. Obviously, doing a hot take like that, saying something that is or isn't going to happen isn't the smartest thing, because you could be wrong. But for the purposes of credibility, I would say that when I do make those statements, they have been 90%, 99, not 99, 90% to 92% accurate. So that's good, right? That's good. But it was about half a year ago that I said that the U.S. and China will be going to war. And I've been, stating it to family members, to a lot of other people. It might have been more than a half a year ago. I don't even know when it was. But obviously, the only evidence I had at that point was a video that I was just talking about. Informational video that maybe was a theory, you never know, about a war that happened in 2020 or 2021 that was so short that I guess the main news didn't even cover it, if it even happened. But this war was called, or battle, you might call it a battle, the beginning of the actual war that is happening now, or not now, but is maybe going to happen in the near future. But it was the fact that it was a battle called the Battle of the Black Sea, or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what the name of the battle was. But obviously the Black Sea, I'm not exactly sure if you know geography, but if you do, you can put yourself out there near China, near Taiwan, near all that craziness that might be going on down there. So yeah, that is that. And in that battle, what happened was China, pushed boundaries that had been set in stone for a couple years or more, where they weren't allowed to set foot on lands of Taiwan in an attempt to make Taiwan part of China. But they refused to listen to those agreements that they set to in the past. They refused to agree or to stick to those terms. And in some kind of escalation, there was a dispute between China and the Americans. Now, if you don't know, the Americans are protecting Taiwan because of some kind of paperwork and treaty that was signed between the United States and Taiwan. Basically, we're saying we'll protect Taiwan if there is any kind of bullshit going on in your country. We got you back, bro. We got you. No matter what the happens, We got you. If you're about to blow up, we're gonna put a shield up. We're gonna put all our money and all our resources into saving your ass because we got you. That's us. We're America. We are the shield, the protection. That is what America said. And America, you know, is pretty well known for keeping their word in these scenarios, I would say. I'm not exactly sure how well our word is, but I hope that our word is as gold or as good as gold. And since China decided to break those agreements that they had made in the past, America was forced to step in. And I don't know exactly what happened. We'll just pretend that this happened. You know, China shoots off one of their missiles from their ships. America has their defensive missiles. It comes, stop the missile. Boom. Explosions. Fantastical. Then there's a submarine of China that comes in, does a little sneaky. Tries to shoot off their sneaky. But then America comes in with their sneaky, double sneaky submarine, and it's like, oh, we see your sneaky missile going off, and we see it, you know, charging, about to go off, so we're gonna intercept that missile that, you know, missile goes off, we intercept it, and also a bonus kill, you know, two birds with one stone. Take out the missile, take out the ship. Basically, we took out a submarine, is what I've heard, and ensued a battle that took thousands of lives within an hour. Now, how this wasn't on the media, how this wasn't put into the news, I'm not sure. That made me think that it is possible that it could be just a theory of what is to come in the future based on a lot of the videos that this channel had put out in the past. But they were very keen to say that this is a theory in their videos, and then when it wasn't a theory, they were very keen to say this happened. They also gave a date too, so it was very weird to say that would be a theory if they gave a date, a time, everything, numbers of casualties, and everything like that. So I just told everybody that I knew about it because nobody really knew about this information due to the fact that there was all sorts of politics in our media going on between the Democrats and Republicans, all sorts of bullshit that nobody really should be paying attention to. Whatever. You know, you guys do what you gotta do. Enjoy your life. So, I'm just here to tell you what's actually going on. You know, that is actually going on too. I'm not saying it's not actually going on, but I'm saying that this is actually going on too at the exact same time, you know. You might not know. So, in the past, I don't know, it's had to have been the past few weeks. Obviously, the media is going to say it today.
It's the last Friday of the year, can you believe it?
That
December 30th, 2022.
China
time right now is around 6:15 p.m. Temperature is 47 Fahrenheit, 8 degrees Celsius.
To take Taiwan and make it part of their
Friday night, it's busy here on 5th Avenue.
And
I want to walk around on this last Friday and see what everyone's up to, especially the tourists. Maybe we'll stop by Times Square, see what the preparations, how the preparations are going there for the New Year's Eve celebration tomorrow.
Lovely country. Enjoy our
As for tomorrow, I've heard that Times Square is expected to be at capacity.
I don't know the word right now.
No umbrellas will be allowed. It is going to be a rainy forecast.
Obviously, they're keeping people in China. They're keeping people inside due to COVID or something. You're not allowed to leave your house. So whatever the fuck that's called, you know, they're to Taiwan. Why don't you enjoy the thralls of that?
And it's going to make it already difficult for the revelers to really bring in the new year. Already they have to use
America comes in.
No umbrellas, and as usual,
what the fuck's up? You're not following
there won't be any restroom facilities easily available.
What the fuck's up with that? Oh, you forgot? You had a mental breakdown? Well, I got fucking a nuke. I got a fucking submarine that is 10 times better than yours. What you gonna do, bro? Well, China is saying they're gonna pretend like there was nothing said by America and that it is part of China. And one way or another, China is going to take Taiwan into their
6th Avenue
country and make it part of their country. So if you don't see the problem in that, I don't know what the fuck to tell you.
Steve Miller saying
so that's
what
starting
a great
the video.
You did showing us the water.
That will start the video off today. We will be
ball up close.
Obviously, the conflict between Taiwan and China.
Had the opportunity to go up to one time
going into 2022, 2023. This conflict is going to be
tonight. Hopefully, I can
center
get it up
stage.
tomorrow
If it's
morning
not,
for you.
it is happening, folks.
But that
it
was
is happening,
a very
and if you're not
fascinating
seeing it,
experience.
center stage, there's a goddamn
Thank
problem.
you, Sarah Giles, for $16.99 New Zealand dollars. Appreciate it, Sarah.
This is news from Germany.
Thank you very much.
I don't know
Appreciate
if it's news, if it's been played on our news. I don't watch American news unless it comes across my radar, just because I try to watch news throughout the entire world from all aspects,
all clear for midnight,
through other
all right,
sources,
let's see what happens.
through the original content. You know, we're here to try to find the truth. That is what I'm here to do. Obviously, the truth can be skewed, and it's really hard to put your hands on knowing.
The problem
what
is,
not.
Even though the rain is expected to stop with that forecast, people will still have to wait in the rain if they want to get a good spot.
Taiwan.
You can't just stay in a building and then expect to go out at the last minute, right before midnight. You have to stay there that entire time in Times Square.
It's National Day in Taiwan.
Crowds and bad weather is to just view the ball drop on the internet or on television. Thank you,
Outside
Ivan
the presidential
Ho
palace in Taipei, this is more than just.
Thank you, Ivanhoe, and Sarah Rayner with 10 Australian dollars. Thank you, Sarah.
It's National Day in Taiwan. Outside the presidential palace.
Bro! Don't do that!
Yeah, that's right, Hung Mao. People will have to wear raincoats and rain boots to stay dry.
So that was going on the whole time? Was that going on the whole time I was talking? I hope to fucking God it wasn't.
Palace in Taipei, this is more than just a parade. It's a show of It's National Day in Taiwan. Outside the presidential palace in Taipei, this is more than just a parade. It's a show of defiance against an existential threat. China's military has just mounted its biggest show of force in a generation. A test run for a blockade or even invasion of Taiwan, a place China says is its own. Taiwan's president says no, and her people must be ready to fight.
台湾人民和朝野政党的最大的共识，就是捍卫主权以及我们民主自由的生活方式。这一点，我们没有妥协的空间。
1,000 miles away in the Great Hall of the People in Beijing, Xi Jinping is making Chinese Communist Party history. With a third term at the top, and making his promise and his threat that one way or the other, Beijing will take control of Taiwan.
我们坚持以最大诚意，尽最大努力，争取和平统一的前景，但绝不承诺放弃使用武力。
His words echo across the Taiwan Strait.
The Chinese government is adamant that it wants to, as it puts it, reunify with Taiwan. And yet a growing majority of the people in Taiwan are equally adamant that they don't want that. Now this simple but profound tension looks to be reaching breaking point.
The US is preparing for conflict in this strategically critical region, with Joe Biden saying America would come to Taiwan's defense, and that would mean a very big war.
I love how everything has to go wrong in this stream. That's okay. Because I found out that my mic was muted, and we're going back. We're going to say it again. How is this guy going to say these conflicts have been mounting for quite some time in so many words or less, and now it's coming to an all-time high? Well, what the fuck happened back in 2020 or 2021 when 1,000 people just fucking died in less than an hour due to fucking submarines blowing up and ships going boom? What the fuck was that, though? That wasn't tensions growing to an all-time high. That was just another day on the sea. Another day that fishermen have to avoid fucking explosions under the water due to superpowers clashing. That's just another day on the goddamn sea. Apparently.
The escalation would almost be immediate. A general war...
Okay, so I pause my mic. I pause my shit. And somehow I can't hear anything now. Somehow I can't hear dick shit. That makes no sense. Stop. Bruh.
War involving at least 4 or 5 countries, including the 3 largest economies in the world.
In a time already shaken by conflict in Europe, this would plunge the world into a crisis of historic proportions.
In this video, we're going to find out how we got into this dangerous situation and how to prevent it getting even worse.
In part 1, we go back in time to uncover the roots of the crisis, how a diplomatic breakthrough kept the peace for decades, but left a legacy of anger and betrayal.
Everybody, all 3 angles in this triangle are permeated with distrust.
So, fuck? Like, actually, okay, so... I mean, I don't know how much of this we're actually gonna watch, just because of the fact that I can tell you that it's pretty goddamn simple, bruh. There was this goddamn piece of land, alright? Taiwan's like, yo, I own that land, and China's like, yo, that's like our special land, and like Taiwan's like, but it's like on our island, and they're like, but your island's part of China, and then it's like, oh, well, who owns that land? And it's like, well, it's Taiwan according to America, but according to China, it's China. So there you go, there's your dispute. Bam, bida-da-bang, bida-bang, bida-boom, bada. I don't know how many hours we need to go into describing that, but here we go. Enjoy.
That is
oh yeah, that's right. I have to unplug my fucking headset
other people in
for
the
no
United States
reason.
Government would see to it that it was not that easy.
Still, Beijing went along with it, and Nixon's visit the following year produced the decisive steps towards establishing full relations, which Jimmy Carter and Deng Xiaoping would eventually formalize in 1979. This process left Taiwan looking very lonely on the world stage. It lost its seat at the United Nations, and many other countries followed the US lead in switching recognition from Taipei to Beijing. Some had already done so. But that fig leaf that Kissinger had produced to get Zhou's acceptance was also the beginning of a blurred, ambiguous US position towards Taiwan and China, with different parts of the US government pulling in different directions.
US officials had to go back to Washington and tell Congress, you know, we are going to recognize the People's Republic of China, and we are going to end our mutual defense treaty with Taiwan. And entirely predictably, those American politicians, especially again in Congress, said, oh, hell no, you're not abandoning Taiwan. We're not letting that happen.
So Taiwan's supporters...
So I don't really understand the fucking logic of all that. Either you know, I guess they're probably gonna explain it. But in my opinion, if you're gonna back up somebody, let's say you're at school and you're obviously a bigger person, and there's somebody that you know is getting bullied. You might have met them in PE class, and they obviously can't run the track in the allotted 3 minutes, so they're doing it. Okay, maybe not 3 minutes. That's probably a lot, but in the allotted 6 minutes, and they're coming to a mile in 12. You, as a stronger person, you might have the obligation, if you feel the need, to take care of the underdog. So that's what I feel like America has put their position on. And that's the great thing about the country that I think we live in, is it's really a debate to decide on every decision, and at the end of the day, it's a decision that we probably all decided on, even if none of us agree or like the decision. We all decided on it. So
Dong, and the much bigger enemy, the USSR.
They were seeing that
remind me that I need
what
to
they had
fucking
long
plug
believed
in
to be a kind
this
of
shit.
unbreakable bond of socialist.
What impressed me?
That peace and harmony.
Oh my god, I hate this.
Would be peaceful.
To be preparing
for conflict in this strategically critical region, with Joe Biden saying America would come to Taiwan's defense, and that would mean a very big war.
We have used to get to where we are today.
In part 2, tensions begin to boil.
They fired missiles to the waters near Taiwan.
Okay, so we're just gonna skip
conducted
part
very
2.
large-scale air and sea exercises. They conducted cyber attacks against Taiwan. The Chinese seems to be preparing for a war against Taiwan.
And in part 3, we project the dynamics in China, the US, and Taiwan into the future. America made us do this.
Honest answer is, if...
Bruh.
So everybody, all three angles in the...
America made us do this.
Honest answer is, if Nancy Pelosi didn't make the visit, we could not have the chance to have such a grand...
All right, so those are obviously the tensions.
Everybody, all three...
So while I try to figure out where the part 2 is, considering the fact that they don't have it... Okay, here we go. Part 2. Hello? No, where's part 2? 1645. The Undoing.
After nightfall in southern Taiwan, the Taiwanese army is holding live fire exercises.
Alright, so...
testing its strength to resist an invasion by China.
Great for Taiwan. That's beautiful scenery that we got going on here. Let's just recap, because I do not want to go into that whole thing. It's really kind of boring. So we're going to jazz it up and make it real quick, real fast. We already went into the whole land grab dispute. Da-da-da-da-da. Well, I don't know if they mention it, but if they're going to mention it, but Nancy Pelosi a couple months ago went to Taiwan. China was like, don't go to Taiwan, Nancy. Don't do it. Don't be that bitch. And, Nancy flew across the jet, in the jet, landed on Taiwan, did the whole wave. And, China's pretty pissed about that. So there we go. That elevated tensions that already were elevated, and I guess basically the media needed something to latch onto to really emphasize what is going on out there, in my opinion. Because let's really go down to the facts. And we're now stating that fucking Black Sea fight was a fact. It happened, okay? So it happened in either 2020, late 2020 or 21. I'm not exactly sure. I'm pretty sure it's 2020. But 1,000 people died in less than an hour due to the failures of two nations coming to the agreement of land. All right? I know it's silly. I don't even know why I'm going into it. You know how many people have died in the past due to land disputes? The fact of the matter is that happened over land. Like, I don't need to say much more, do I? Do I need to elaborate on the fact that the land goes up like this many altitudes and there was a scenic journey due to the pilgrimage of the Taiwanese in the late 1800s that make it such a, like, yes, it's beautiful. There's beautiful things that happen. There's just beautiful things that happen everywhere. There's something beautiful that happened in my backyard with those two squirrels having sex. Like, come on. Something beautiful happens every second. Like, why do we need to kill people over the things that... Whatever. You get my point. I hope. It's ridiculous. And here we go. We're gonna lose hundreds and thousands of people at this point. And I'm sitting here. Nobody's listening. Nobody's gonna listen. Nobody gives a fuck. You're all gonna die because of a bunch of land and because a bunch of fucking people in suits don't give a fuck to walk down there and get bitten by the goddamn mosquitoes themselves to say, hey, why don't we just share the goddamn fucking land? Huh? You know, that's an idea for the ages. You know, I have two bunnies and they can't fucking share a goddamn piece of fucking carrot. No wonder why humans can't share a plot of damn land.
And determined to show that it's ready for the fight.
Shit.
但是我们仍会继续秉持
fight.
但是我们仍会继续秉持着备战而不求战、应战而不避战的精神。
But conflict may be coming. Chinese military pressure.
Knowing that other people in the United States government would see to...
Okay, let's not fuck up. I hate that, dude. That is so annoying. And that didn't happen.
After nightfall in southern Taiwan, the Taiwanese army is holding live fire exercises, testing its strength to resist an invasion by China, and determined to show that it's ready for the fight.
但是我们仍会继续秉持着备战而不求战、应战而不避战的精神。
But conflict may be coming. Chinese military pressure has reached new levels. Massive exercises in 2022 were seen as a partial test run for a blockade or even invasion. Taiwan's Foreign Minister Joseph Wu condemned the drills.
They fired missiles to the waters near Taiwan. They conducted very large-scale air and sea exercises. They conducted cyber...
So, let's think about that for a sec. In the sense that, yeah, that did happen. Hold on, I gotta see if I just muted my mic.
Attacks against...
So what the fuck is going on?
Taiwan.
Why is it doing that? I have no idea. There's no reason for my mic to just stop working. I plug it back in, it works fine. Anyways, so this dude is, you know, he does have a point. Why? But I can tell you why. Because first of all, in the eyes of Beijing, it's their land. They own the land even though they're miles away from it. They own it. It's there. So fuck off. You know, like that's pretty much it with that sense. And I'm sure there's a more personal grinding of gears going on here that really sets in stone why this piece of land is so important. I'm sure there is, but we don't know it, so we can't really guesstimate at what the fuck that might be. But what we can say is that China definitely is shooting missiles over Taiwan. Like, Taiwan's, you know, this itty-bitty little country with 7 million people on it, or more. I don't really know how many. A lot of people. And they're just shooting missiles over the goddamn entire island. Shooting it and making it land outside in the ocean, over on the other side of the island. Now, obviously, that's going to impede with airspace of the Taiwanese and piss off their government to no extent. I'm not exactly sure if they've asked America to take action in retaliation to this, but obviously it's a method to provoke Taiwan to do something, and it's also a method to show their utmost strength. They are strong, power, strong, mighty. Look at my muscle. Look at my missile. So yeah. Okay, it froze again, so give me a second while I plug in my stupid mic again for no fucking reason. Mind you, no reason at all.
Conducted disinformation campaign against Taiwan. So put it all together. This is what they want to do to Taiwan when they want to invade Taiwan.
The exercises broke with established practice, crossing the so-called median line, midway between Taiwan and the mainland.
The median line of the Taiwan Strait has been there for decades, safeguarding peace and stability.
Okay, so let's just go on about this median line, because it's something of tension importance that I hadn't really gone over. There's this fucking line across the ocean where there's really no goddamn line. Obviously, they didn't put a fucking, one of those things that you see at a football game where that guy is drawing a line. They don't have one of those lines across the ocean, but there's a established line in the ocean where if you shoot over that line or if you cross that line, you're in the other person's territory. Now that line, according to Taiwan, is here, and according to China, is here. So there are two different places, this line. So that can obviously cause some problems. This country thinks that their line's here, and this country thinks it's there. Obviously, there's going to be that intercede section of water, land, where... Whose fucking land is it? Oh, that's right. I had to unplug my mic, plug it back in for no fucking reason. No fucking reason whatsoever. I know I keep saying that, but it's pissing me off.
Over the Taiwan Strait. And without that tacit agreement, the two militaries are going to come very close to each other. And the Chinese are coming so close that it compresses the depths of our air defense, and it can create a very dangerous situation.
But the Chinese say they're just responding to American provocations.
August 2022, Nancy Pelosi lands in Taipei for a visit that set the world on edge.
Really? Really, China? Really? You're gonna blame America? I know I made fun of Nancy earlier, but you're really gonna go that far to blame America when, mind you, you guys killed 1,000 of each other's men like a year ago. Did Nancy Pelosi go a year ago too that nobody fucking covered on the news? Is that why you guys killed each other a year ago? Is that why? Because I'm confused at this point, and I'm pretty sure the fuck everybody else is, except for you goddamn sheep that believe this bullshit that this woman from goddamn America came over to Taiwan and upset the Chinese. Like that's really what upsets the Chinese, is this white woman.
Edge. She's Speaker of the House of Representatives,
sorry.
the
Sorry
most
for the
senior
fucking
American
bullshit.
politician to
Oh, you
set
guys
foot
can
in
still hear
Taiwan
even
in
though
a
my mic's
generation.
fucked. So that means you could have heard that
She
whole
tells
time while
her
I was
host,
talking and that shit
President
was
Tsai
going on.
Ing-wen,
Well, fucking
she's come
sorry
to
about that.
support a democracy under threat.
We will not abandon our commitment to Taiwan, and we are proud of our enduring friendship.
Beijing responded with outrage, insisting the trip was a breach of US One China policy.
大家也都知道了，连日来呢，中方通过各种渠道，在各个层级反复的向美方阐明中方坚决反对。
And mind you, they can say that this is a policy-breaking event because Taiwan's part of China. Duh.
佩洛西串访台湾的严正立场，但是显然美方和那些台独分裂的势力呢，没有听进去。
And those massive military exercises started within hours of Pelosi's departure. The message? America made us do this.
Honest answer is, if Nancy Pelosi didn't make the visit, we could not have the chance to have such a grand-scale exercise. So it is the United States that has provoked China. And
so again, I didn't really touch on that when I last said that. That is an important thing to touch on. That, yeah, it was a smart move by China to get ready for something that they've been trying to get ready for, ever, without it provoking the West, the U.S., to bring in more military personnel into that region of the world. Now they can up their stakes, bring their military into that section without saying, let's say, poking the bee's nest, poking America to bring in their extra ships, extra units, extra shit to protect Taiwan in their greatest need of protection. Well, we don't really know what's going on. I'm sure that due to the fact that there is tensions, escalation, that there are more troops being sent over to Taiwan from America. Mind you, if you're just new here, the reason that Americans are over in Taiwan is because President Biden, the name of Nixon, I believe, was like, yo, what's up, guys? Let's protect the underdog like we always do. We're America. We got big-edged guns. Why don't we go protect everybody and pass them the bill, too, on the side. So, yeah, that's what we're all about here in America. Protecting freedom.
To make China respond. We just let the world know that we would not tolerate this kind of behavior. And we, PLA, would stand ready to even use military actions.
But the Taiwanese say the Pelosi visit really wasn't such a big deal.
If they can find Speaker Pelosi's visit to Taiwan as an excuse to launch such a large military scale exercises, I think they can find many more excuses. The Chinese military threat against Taiwan will not stop Taiwan from making more friends. And at the same time, it will not stop international friends to come to Taiwan and show their support to us.
Sure enough, Western lawmakers have been streaming to Taiwan, including 2 delegations from Germany soon after Pelosi's visit. One participant told us that the trips were fully in line with Germany's version of One China.
It's no breach of the policy we have for many, many years. It would be a change if we would hesitate visiting Taiwan in these times. And that would be an important negative sign for Taiwan if we wouldn't go there anymore in these times where China is threatening Taiwan.
Halfway around the world, the war in Ukraine is also a major factor. Russia's invasion is increasing the sense among Western politicians that they need to look out for Taiwan. Germany's Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock draws a direct connection between Russia's invasion and the Chinese threat to Taiwan.
That this fundamental breach of international law by Russia against Ukraine cannot be tolerated, because otherwise it would be an invitation to other countries like China to also invade Taiwan.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been a giant wake-up call for Taiwan, and not just for political leaders or the military, but for ordinary people too. They're confronting the reality that if it can happen there, it could probably happen here too.
NGOs have been holding training sessions.
So it is important to say that the two events that are happening simultaneously in the world, but in opposite parts of the world, are very different events. They do have similarities, but they are very different. The main difference, I would say, is geopolitical, not just where Taiwan sits, how different the military strengths are due to Russian. Obviously, before the Russian war, a lot of people thought that Russian was second power, but I'm going to say that it's probably China that has the second most powerful military. We don't really know, but that's just a generalization, I would say. But it's really different due to the fact that you have a whole strip of water that is where the main majority of the battle is going to take place. If there is a fight, if there is a war, that's going to be where the war is. It's land to sea, sea to land battle fighting that we're going to see going on. That requires a totally different skill, a different approach than what you saw in Russia. Russia did this land invasion real quick, real sudden. Something like that to happen in Taiwan, they would have to do a sea to land invasion, which in the past we have seen is one of the ways to lose the most amount of personnel in a fight to this day in history. D-Day is a great example of that, where troops tried to go storm onto the beaches of Normandy and were shot down by German troops waiting for them to storm the beaches. And it would be something similar in 2023, I guess, or 24, or whenever the fuck this happens. If it happens, let's hope it doesn't. That we would see that happen again, but with homing missiles and 50 caliber sniper rifles shooting across. You know what I mean. Anyways, it's better technology, crazier fight, more death, more destruction. Not a good sign. We don't want to see that shit happen. We don't, even though I know people be like, ooh, oof, explosions.
Across Taiwan to try to get the public better prepared.
The biggest lesson from Ukraine is that it's a sharp reminder that peace is so fragile. It's a sharp reminder that our world can change overnight.
Here in the city of Taichung, people are learning basic skills that they might need in a conflict.
What we're doing is we're training civilians in crisis response. So that means teaching communities how to do first aid, how to treat severe trauma, how to do search and rescue, how to do emergency communication when our phones don't work, how to manage shelters, essentially how to keep communities running.
People come to spend their Saturday afternoon preparing for something they hope will never happen.
With the Ukraine war, things kind of changed. I think there's a little bit of more awareness and sensitivity towards how vulnerable our situation can be.
I think it really helps on creating.
I just gotta say, I know I'm eating, sorry. So unprofessional of me, I'm sorry. I just gotta say, it's a little scary to me that you see Taiwan, who is protected by America, right? And they're obviously Taiwanese. They're that ethnicity. But they speak so fluent and well in English. It scares me. It makes me think, oh, well, we're colonists. We came across and, colonized Taiwan and made them speak English and told them English and gave them our dollar and made them do everything America does. It's just a little, it's just, I don't like it. Obviously I'm narrowing down on a pinpoint thing and making it kind of negative in a sense, but I don't know. It's kind of hypocritical in my eyes being like, yo, I'm America, I'm going to protect Taiwan, when China is trying to take over Taiwan, when America kind of already has. I don't know. Obviously, we haven't. They have their own economy. And that's what America would like you to think.
These scenarios on where help us think that, okay, we are actually not in a place that is, that is safe, and we need to know how are we going to protect ourselves when things happen. Yeah.
This reflects Taiwan's growing sense of itself as distinct from China. Surveys show that a large majority of the population now identifies as Taiwanese rather than Chinese, and only a tiny minority want to reunify with China.
Well, we elect our own president, we have a constitution, we have a standing army, we have citizens, we have the right to vote. We know that Taiwan exists.
And economically, Taiwan has become a global force to be reckoned with. Its semiconductor industry is the most advanced in the world and critical to global supply chains. The DPP party of President Tsai Ing-wen is known for championing Taiwan's autonomy and pushing back vigorously against Chinese pressure.
台海周边的情势紧张，威胁日益增强。国军各级部队在这段期间都加强戒备。
Tsai announced a big hike in military spending just after the Chinese exercises, and her government says there will be more to come. The US is by far Taiwan's biggest supplier of arms, and there's strong support in Congress to keep the weapons flowing.
I think there is a strong bipartisan consensus in seeing China as the pacing threat, economically, technologically, diplomatically, and militarily. So I think that bipartisan consensus is there, and it's very, very important. And it's certainly there in terms of helping build up Taiwan's ability to defend itself.
And this only makes Beijing angrier, saying it breaks with those deals made decades ago.
US administrations have been violating such kind of agreement by increasing arms sales to Taiwan, by sending more and more officials to visit Taiwan. So this is clearly in violation of what they said. If they agree that Taiwan is but a part of China, so why would they keep on selling more and more arms to Taiwan?
But for all China's anger over the US arming Taiwan, it's the massive growth in Beijing's own military that is the real game changer.
So the People's Liberation Army at the moment is undergoing a large-scale reform and modernization process under the leadership and guidance of President Xi Jinping, adding more advanced and more capabilities, more modern capabilities to the PLA's inventory in the air, sea, land, and of course also space and cyber domains.
And that process is pushing ahead on an accelerated timetable.
We probably will become as strong as the United States, you see, officially in mid-century, but probably we can speed up that a bit.
The man pushing all this forward, Xi Jinping, China's supreme leader. He insists that reunification with Taiwan is China's destiny, and he makes no bones about it. He reserves the right to invade.
解决台湾问题是中国人自己的事，要由中国人来决定。我们坚持以最大诚意。
Dude, the fuck are you talking about? Peaceful reunification. The fuck is a peaceful reunification. Does that mean guns a-blazing? We go in peacefully? Guns a-fucking-blazing? Our missiles red hot, tipped to 90 degrees? I don't fucking know. The fuck? Peaceful? Come on now. Bull. Shit. You just sent 1,000 more troops. 1,000 plus more troops to the Black Sea. Go fuck yourself, peaceful.
争取和平统一的前景，但绝不承诺放弃使用武力。
America's top diplomat, Tony Blinken, takes this seriously and says she might act sooner rather than later.
There has been a change in the approach from Beijing toward Taiwan in recent years. And instead of sticking with the status quo that was established in a positive way, a fundamental decision that the status quo was no longer acceptable, and that Beijing was determined to pursue reunification on a much faster timeline.
What does this mean for the US position? What would it do?
So we're going to make that peaceful reunification on a faster fucking timeline. Meaning we're going to send our peace negotiators with our peaceful nukes and our peaceful guns and our peaceful missiles to the Black Sea just a bit sooner and more rapidly than before. Definitely, bud.
If Beijing
Definitely
pulled the
what I
trigger.
would consider.
On several occasions now, Joe Biden has said it would fight.
Are you willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that?
Yes,
You are.
that's the commitment we made. Here's the situation. We agree with a one China policy. We signed on to it and all the attendant agreements made from there. But the idea that it can be taken by force, just taken by force, is just not appropriate. It will dislocate the entire region and be another action similar to what happened in Ukraine.
Biden and his team have repeatedly gone on to equivocate over these statements.
I think it's good to say that, well, once something happens, somebody else is going to do the same thing. I think that's human nature. We've seen it in, unfortunately, school shootings, restaurant, anything that has successfully been done has been troped, has been troped and done again. I guarantee you it's been troped and done again multiple times, if not, if not just once, multiple times. So, obviously, it is going to be a fear of the Taiwanese and also well, let's think about what we can do now after Russia went in their guns a-blazing with their peaceful negotiations of reunification. Then yeah, you can see how that all of this leads up to the point where we're at in time now.
Seeming to walk back from such clarity and return to that position of ambiguity nurtured over decades. But Beijing is drawing its own conclusions.
This is what we believe they're doing. They're holding out to this concept of one China because they still talk about it, but the substance is being changed. Yeah, with more such kind of visits, with more arms sales to Taiwan, with Joe Biden talking for 4 times about how the United States would defend Taiwan militarily. The substance, we're afraid, is changing.
I think if you look at it from both sides, from the Beijing angle and the Washington angle, there is a case to be made that both are simultaneously salami slicing the traditional notion of the one China policy. For the Americans, when you start playing around with the question of official level contact between the authorities in Taiwan and those of the US administration, The Chinese would argue that this begins to, bit by bit, salami slice the whole notion of one China becoming two China. That gets turbocharged by the erosion of the American traditional doctrine of strategic ambiguity into strategic unambiguity, which is where President Biden has left it most recently. Mind you, on the other end, the Americans would say that China has always known that America would be opposed to any threat of the use of force. And the deployment of military assets after the Pelosi visit came after a series of efforts by China in recent years to ramp up its own military efforts in and around Taiwan anyway. So the Americans would argue that China too is salami slicing one China policy by beginning to make more and more recourse to military preparations to take the island.
There is a growing sense that we're approaching a moment of truth. So in part 3 of this video, we're going to find out what, if anything, can prevent a war.
So let's just, talk about that. And let's go into that a little bit about what was really said there. I think I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier with the fact that it isn't our place, really, in the doctrine. If you look at it in the sense of morality, doctrine, I don't know the doctrine, but I'm going to look at it in the sense of morality. I'm assuming that morality is wiggled its way into that doctrine. It wiggles its way into most, and I think all legal documents. There is some kind of morality to the decisions that we make, I would say. So that's a good place to start when you're guessing on things that you may not know about, especially with legal sense of things. But morality can be judged in many different ways due to the person perceiving what is moral and what is just. Anyways, so what is it really okay? What what type of action lets a country dictate a force of people coming from their homes, from their families, to take aggressive action to take away from another family and take away from them and their homes because of a belief that somebody has? Where is the moral justification, no matter what kind of treaty or law that was signed? What is the moral justification in that? I guess the only one that I can think of really is that a generation before, the same thing happened but opposite. So that would be like Taiwanese stole the land from the Chinese, which I think is kind of what is being said anyways. So when you look at America stepping foot into a region where if America didn't step in, they probably wouldn't have the opportunities that they had today. Well, from a China standpoint, that's exactly you're looking at the evidence is right in front of you of what their doctrine tried to prevent, which is exactly what happened. America taking control of Taiwan, making Taiwan a second China in the eyes of China, making it into Taiwan, their independent country of its own. But really, you would have to sit down and look at those individual conversations that happened with the people of back in the day when these whole events happened. Was it Americans manipulating Taiwanese to be like, yo, we can protect you if this shit goes down, so you should totally subscribe to our laws and our benefits, and we'll give you this, and that in return? Or was it more the sense of Taiwanese being like, yo, we need help, we're getting our ass handed to us, this is our land, China's trying to take it because they want it due to something that happened forever ago, but it was already resolved forever ago and it's our land now, so what the fuck's going on? Like, can you come help? So it's really hard to say what actually happened and who is right and who is wrong in this sense. And that's why there's probably going to be a goddamn war, because nobody knows. And the only way to figure that out is if we punch each other hard enough until one of us fucking gets knocked out. So let's move on to part 3, see what the fuck. If there's any way to prevent this, there's many ways to prevent this. Why don't y'all just put your guns down and walk back home, go to the arcade, go to the fucking once-in-a-lifetime buffet, spend your fucking life savings on a wonderful dinner with the wife, go to Jamaica, go to Taiwan, go to America, go to China, go to Japan, go to Germany, go to the Caribbeans. Do something with your life besides kill yourself over some shit that you don't even give a fuck about, but you give a fuck about it because somebody gave you a riled up speech that made you think for about 10 days about, is this right? Is this what I want to do? And then you can convince your goddamn self that this is what you want. You have lived every single second of your life to serve this one goddamn goal. Let's go, motherfucker. Let's do this shit. Now, is that really what you want to do? Because I can tell you right now, subscribe to Kurz and I will make a war stop. If you fucking subscribe, I will make that war stop. I will make you guys put your guns down, look at the world for what the fuck it is, stop being 2-year-olds in a fucking 50-year-old body, stop getting mad at people yelling, stop getting mad at every single fucking thing that happens, get over yourself. If we're gonna kill each other, then make it okay. Just be like, yo, we're killing each other, dude. Like, we're animals. Let's get it over with. Kill each other. Boom, boom, bang, bang. Or we have the ability to kill each other and we're not gonna kill each other because we've evolved enough to know that we don't kill each other because we need to work together to further ourselves. So then let's do that instead of fucking being 2-year-olds and sitting there shooting each other with our goddamn guns. Okay? Like, come on. I mean, to each is their own. Fuck your fucking shit. Like, you're dumb. I'm dumb. We're all dumb. We're all learning every single day. So why the fuck are we shooting each other? I just don't get it. I don't understand. Obviously, I get pissed. I want to shoot people every day. I'm fucking like, yo, bitch, like, die. like, I get it. But it's those times and those moments that, you know, we have the capability of thinking before we make actions. So why don't we think before we make actions and like self-proceed these actions before they turn into something that is obviously a learning experience, and therefore, you know, no matter what I say, I'm not going to get subscribers, so nobody's going to stop the war. The war is going to happen. People are going to die. People are going to cry. And life goes on. Like, life is a word that America made up, whatever, the English language made up, life, whatever it is in other languages. Life goes on, dude. Like, stop being so centered onto one fucking thing in your life. Not anything. Nothing. How about that? Nothing is as important as you think it is. Nothing is as important as you think it is. And if you think it's not important, it's way more important than you ever thought it was. So, just by that fact alone, shouldn't you know that taking up arms, knowing that as a human, you're never, ever, ever, ever going to be on top of your shit. Like, you can pretend you're on top of your shit, you can make yourself look like you're on top of your shit, but you're never going to be on top of your shit because being a human is a learning experience. Every single fucking second is a goddamn learning experience. Even by walking into the next step. The reason you walk that step is from a learning experience from the first time you goddamn walked, you goddamn idiots. Okay? Like, what the fuck are we doing? The fuck? You're all insane. You're all insane. All of you. Every single one of you are fucking insane in the membrane. You're looking at a screen right now. Seeing images. Understanding things that no other fucking conscious animal that we know of can understand. You're goddamn insane! You're insane! So put down your guns. Go back home. Love the people that you have met in your life. Enjoy your life for as long as it's here. And if you really, really want to die, for whatever reason, experience those moments that you realize that's a mistake anyways, but you can never take it back, then do it, bro. Like, go for it, bro. Like, yeah, go for it. But don't involve a damn country. Like, why don't we have a fucking... Back in the day, we had medieval times with, chariots and javelins and all this other bullshit, whatever it's called. Maybe that was a good idea. Maybe that shit was good. Maybe getting our aggression out is a good idea. Maybe we're a little backwards in thinking that, we're so ahead of ourselves by not fighting in a public sense and not killing each other on television or whatever, but we kill each other outside of television at a mass scale and kill innocent people that have nothing to do with our killing. We're insane. Literally insane, bro. How the fuck can you think it's okay to go to war, but it's not okay to have a gladiator system set up on fucking TV? Huh? Think about it! Think about it! It's 2023. We need to grow the fuck up before the paradox happens, before that proxy bullshit across the horizon happens, and there is no anything to be like, oh my god, like there's a war going on. Like, come on, people. You have no idea, okay? We could be as insane as we want or as sane as we want. But at the end of the day, this shit is stupid.
Bali, Indonesia. The leaders of the 20 most powerful nations have come to a tropical paradise to talk about a world in crisis. This is the G20 summit, a group that's meant to coordinate the global economy. But right now it's dominated by the geopolitical struggles engulfing the world. The summit host, Indonesia's President Joko Widodo, sums up the fears of leaders in the region.
We should not divide the world into parts. We must not allow the world fall into another Cold War.
That message was aimed directly at the big beasts at the gathering, Joe Biden and Xi Jinping. Here not just for the summit, but for a hotly awaited meeting, their first since Biden became president. The two men put on smiles as they finally came face to face, and with the cameras still running, spoke of the need to...
Maybe if I wasn't so brash, said the things that I needed to say in a way that people could understand and in like a logical sense, that I guarantee I could stop this war in like a heartbeat. People would literally be like, wait a minute, what? What the fuck? What am I doing again? Why am I going to work? Oh yeah, okay. But why am I going to war? Okay, like seriously, like just... I know I'm brash, I know I'm crazy, we're all crazy, but I know I'm like, not coming at you in the way that you might want to hear, but it's true.
Get talking again.
Well, since you assumed the presidency, we have maintained communication via video conferences, phone calls, and letters. But none of them can really substitute for face-to-face exchanges.
As the leaders of our two nations, we share responsibility, in my view, to show that China and the United States can manage our differences, prevent competition from becoming anything ever near conflict.
And if you're wondering just how dysfunctional things have been between the US and China, consider this from one of the leading defense experts in Washington, someone close to the administration.
We have none of the risk reduction measures in place that we had even with the Soviet Union at the height of the Cold War. So there's no hotline where we know someone will pick up at the other end. There are no risk reduction protocols that we can use in a crisis to de-escalate if there's some miscalculation.
A crisis could easily break out. With China's growing assertiveness around Taiwan and the US presence in the region, the scope for dangerous encounters is very significant. Australia's former Prime Minister and China specialist Kevin Rudd wants the two sides to make compromises.
It would mean that the Americans should not move down the road further on the question of salami slicing the one China policy. And the Chinese should establish a much wider margin of geographical separation between their current military activities in eastern Fujian province and the island of Taiwan itself.
But even if Beijing and Washington can work out some effective boundaries for now, the basic problem hasn't gone anywhere.
Whenever Taiwan is raised with Chinese officials, it's a non-negotiable issue. It's what they call a core interest, and not something that they're willing to compromise in any way on.
So looking ahead, what does that mean?
Stabilizing the relationship for the short to medium term to reduce the risk of unplanned, accidental crisis, conflict and war in the relationship over Taiwan or other strategic red line issues. That's quite different from the long-term question of China's preparations for the 2030s, which is to have sufficient military and economic and technological power to wage war not by accident but by design to secure Taiwan.
And when you look at all of the players in this, at China, at the US and Taiwan in the middle, you get a daunting sense of all three on collision course. So in this final part of the video, we're going to look at the dynamics in play and find out how can they avoid conflict. Let's start with China. Xi Jinping could now be in power for another full decade or even more. He's declared an historic overall mission, the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Xi's government set it all down in this paper on Taiwan, published just before the Big Party Congress. It contains 28 mentions of national rejuvenation. And how do you get national rejuvenation? By reunifying with Taiwan.
Xi Jinping wants to be the guy in political office who finally delivers Taiwan back to Chinese sovereignty.
We in mainland China believe Taiwan is part of China and we have to reunify with Taiwan. The only question is through what means, whether it would be peaceful or whether we have to use force.
What's changing and therefore making it more dangerous is that China...
Just, come on. What the fuck? Bruh. Bro, you guys... The unification of the China and Taiwan. Bruh. Okay. It's true. It's true. If a group of people want to be a group of people that are not, hurting the world or hurting other people, I think that should be allowed. I don't know, it's not... I think it should be allowed. And I know that's controversial because of the whole thing that happened in 2020, 2021, where it was actually, and I think it's still going on, it still could be going on to this day, where in America, the state of California at one point really just wanted to become their own country due to the fact that they did not believe in the laws and regulations of the government. If that happened, I guarantee you that probably would have brought in civil war. It would have been a crazy scene to see happen, but people really don't like change, do we? We don't like change. We'll really fight over change. We'll die over change. It's disappointing to say the least. But don't forget what I said earlier. You're all fucking insane. And just because you won't get over change doesn't mean it's fucking right not to get over change. It doesn't mean it's justified. It doesn't mean that you should not get over change and be like, oh, well, let me fight over this because it's fucking, like, the Jesus Christ of all hell and on earth. Like Jesus Christ is real. Like, fucking, I have to fight for my sins. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's the same idea. I know I just went off on a whole nother tangent. Let me reel it back in. Reel it back in. Fuck that shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. I could literally be like, you guys are committing the craziest sin by putting peanut butter inside of chocolate. Those Reese's Pieces are the most fucking abomination to all of humankind and is creating the most vile course of dialect in everybody's mind when they take a bite of those Reese's, that they need to be banned right now, and anybody who ever makes Reese's or eats Reese's needs to do a 20-year stint in jail. That's how we're insane we are. Except for we can say that about land. Land's cool. We can say that about whatever. We can say that about certain things and it would totally make sense and be like justified. Go for it. Do it. Do you get how insane humans are? I know, like people say it all the time, but we just say it and then we go on about our day like, ooh. The fuck?
Has now begun to perfect the military technologies to execute the mission. China now doubts America's political and resolve and military capability to resist.
The military drills we saw in Part 2 reinforced this picture. Still, representative Chinese voices insist that they are in no hurry to use force.
It's a last option because, of course, it is in our own best interest to have peaceful reunification with Taiwan, which I believe one day will be realized. So we in mainland China are not actually that impatient to say that we have to have a timetable for reunification. You have never seen any announcement of Chinese government for a timetable of reunification.
And yet some are questioning whether Taiwan's growing sense of self we saw in Part 2 might start to change that calculation.
In the past, we've thought about how Beijing thinks that it has time in its favor and in its advantage, that it can wait for the opportunities or the political developments in Taiwan to change on the ground to suit conditions that it sees as more favorable for peaceful unification. The trends that are happening in Taiwan at the moment, politically speaking, demographically speaking, don't make that very likely in the near-term future.
And when you ask the Chinese side under what circumstances they would choose force, the response leaves almost anything possible. Let's hear about that from Zhou Bo. He was a high-ranking officer in the PLA and is now a senior analyst at one of China's top universities. That means he's closely connected to those in power.
There are actually three situations in which non-peaceful means would have to be used. One is the declaration of independence by the separatists in Taiwan, which I believe is not quite possible because they won't be so stupid to suddenly declare independence to invite a military response from the mainland.
He's right, this scenario is unlikely. the Taiwanese government has consistently gone out of its way to avoid any official declaration of independence.
The second is major events that lead to the separation of Taiwan from mainland China. I personally believe this is some kind of situation just like Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. That is basically about external interferences.
This scenario is wide open though. As Joe points out, the Pelosi visit actually happened.
The third situation is that if mainland believe that this kind of separation will last forever and all possibilities of peaceful reunifications are exhausted.
And this final scenario is equally vague. China could declare it at any time.
And permeating the Chinese thinking in these scenarios is the idea.
Well, I think it was important. I think it was important that he made that statement right after the statement where he said, Pelosi. I think what the statement really was trying to get at, and maybe not the third sense, but maybe it is, but I would say more the statement was to ensure that these kind of show of force, of independence, is absolutely not okay. And if we continue, if nations continue showing this acceptance of Taiwan being independent, then we won't be able to use peaceful negotiations to rile down Taiwan to become part of China again. And yeah, so I don't know necessarily if it's really vague. I think it's more of a threat to say anything, an underlying threat. So yeah, fuck that shit, baby. Y'all insane. That's the quote of the day. Y'all and fucking insane.
Idea that one thing stands in the way of China's destiny. America.
I think it's really important to remember that the centrality of the Taiwan issue to the Chinese Communist Party is entirely a decision that the Chinese Communist Party leadership has made, right? Why do they prioritize it? I think they prioritize it because they believe that the only reason Taiwan is still not in their grasp is that the US is frustrating their intentions. So Taiwan becomes a kind of pawn that Beijing is grappling over with the United States.
And you sense increasing confidence in Beijing that it can take that pawn.
China is getting stronger. And because China is getting stronger, and because China very likely would surpass the United States to become the largest economy by the end of 2030. So this is a heavy blow to America's mentality. We in the mainland, are firm about our determination to have a reunification one day, and will continue to build our military to be better prepared, even for a worst scenario.
And the White House is preparing for the worst case scenario too. The latest national security strategy from the president's team makes clear that it sees China as the #1 threat to America's standing in the world. It says that China has both the intent to reshape the international order and increasingly the economic, diplomatic, military, and technological power to do it.
The US response to this is incredibly wide-ranging and also specific. In one move, for example, the Americans pretty much cut China off from their highest-end semiconductor technologies. Not just the chips themselves, but any US-related technology used to make them. Now, this sounds pretty technical, but it's a momentous severing of ties.
Sounded pretty technical, haha, very funny. Anyways, yeah, I forgot to mention that this video is fucking longer than I thought, so yeah, I'm gonna have to be here losing my mind on this bullshit. if you didn't hear in the news lately, the United States decided to sanction, or more or less sanction, China with the technical conductors, the things he just said. Those little chips inside phones, inside my computer, inside the VR headset behind me. It's inside just basically any electronics that has high functioning counter or parts to it. So taking that off the table for China is definitely a detriment to their all of their technology in a sense. And China hasn't been the best to make their own chip, whatever the fuck the chip is called. They haven't really made their own. They buy out of country, and America has finally taken that part of China, which is kind of their weakest part of their economy or whatever, of their whole entire whatever. And America finally poked that part of their infrastructure and is really testing the waters to see what the reaction of China will be in the near future. So yeah, that just happened.
Aimed at slowing China's technological development. And the official behind the rule says there's more to come.
So we are going to continue to look at not just what we did in semiconductors, but other areas that the Chinese are using to threaten the United States and its allies.
And specifically on Taiwan, the declared US strategy is also firm. We will uphold our commitments under the Taiwan Relations Act to support Taiwan's self-defense and to maintain our capacity to resist any resort to force or coercion against Taiwan. There's also a growing sense of urgency among leading defense analysts, a fear that the timelines that they've been thinking of so far are shrinking fast.
We've been preparing for that, thinking that maybe that's something that we could see a crisis in the 2030s. And so most of U.S. defense planning is focused on that time period.
Bruh, why? I literally said that this war started in 2020. Like back in 2020 or whenever the fuck that shit happened. That's nuts. Who the fuck? This is lies. This is bullshit. You guys really, actually didn't see this coming? Like, actually. I mean, I guess there's a lot going on. And I guess the politics and the presidency is really that important. Why? Like, you guys, I can't listen to it. I can't. I'm that pissed off. I will not listen to that bullshit. Yeah? Fuck that. Fuck that shit. Let's see what Germany's doing.
Allies in Europe are increasingly concerned too. Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz, known for his cautious approach to China, used his first visit there as Chancellor to publicly urge Beijing to safeguard stability.
Wie die USA und viele andere Staaten verfolgen wir eine Ein-China-Politik. Ich habe gleichermaßen aber auch deutlich gemacht, dass eine Veränderung des Status quo von Taiwan nur friedlich und in gegenseitigem Einvernehmen erfolgen darf.
And Scholz's deputy said this about the prospect of a fight over Taiwan.
This will have disastrous effect on the whole world. We have seen that a regional conflict like the Russian war on Ukraine has brought the whole world into turbulence. That would be far more catastrophic. So this is something we definitely have to avoid, and I hope that China knows that the whole world is watching.
And for America's friends in Asia, the prospect of such a war on their doorstep is deeply unnerving. So the US is piling resources into the region, trying to strengthen its position and get its allies up to speed too. The AUKUS alliance to supply Australia with advanced nuclear submarines is a prime example. The overriding goal, deterring China from launching an attack.
Deterrence is the name of the game here. This is not
I
a war
think
that
that's an
either
important
side should
thing
want
to
to ever
segue
fight.
into what
I
we
think
had
the
talked
key
about
thing
earlier
is for Beijing
with
to
the fact
recognize
that submarine, the reason why it is the catalyst of like, oh, yo, China, don't do this or we'll throw this submarine, is because that shit that I said that happened back in 2020 or 21, that shit really did fucking happen, and our submarines really did show that we had the best technology at the time due to our submarines. Our submarines fucked their shit up. Fucked them up. Everybody in that submarine, I'm pretty sure, was good. They were Gucci. They didn't die. They were all good. Nothing happened to them. Of course, there was a lot of other things that happened where people unfortunately lost their lives. And our news just kind of zoomed right over it. We've already been over it. So, the fuck, bro? Of course. It's obvious, in my opinion.
that
Obvious.
if you go to war to seize Taiwan, you lose.
But seen from China, all of this is an attempt to obstruct its legitimate rise as a global power. A policy of containment, Cold War style.
Clearly, Americans' intention is to contain China, while China is still not number one power in the world. So under this kind of background comes this question: how useful would Taiwan be for the United States in containing China? So this is my suspicion. Yeah, otherwise why would the United States strengthen its ties with Taiwan?
And as we saw earlier,
Okay, so that, really does an insight onto, in my opinion, onto the mindset of a Chinese individual or official. And the fact that there's two things there that really I want to hone in on. And that is, first of all, he's talking about why, all of this is going on. It's very clear that we're going to be a better power in the future, which is, I don't know where, is there evidence to say that? Maybe. I've always thought of China as a growing nation in its sense of power since the very beginning of dawn of time, that it's, grown to be more of a central, it always has been a central power in my opinion, but now that the world is changing, it is changing with the world, and I think it's just a superpower. I don't really consider it better or worse than America. I think that it probably has things that are better or worse to it and America has better and worse things to it. And that's just how it goes. But with that being said, if it is the case, then, and you are going to be better than America, then I don't see the problems in escalating tensions unless you're a toddler and getting upset about the fact that they're doing something and they're getting upset. You're just getting upset for them getting upset. If you're going to be a better power, then don't worry about it. It doesn't fucking matter. They can do whatever they want. You're a better power. It doesn't matter. Obviously, if you think that it's the case and they're doing it to undermine you or undermine China as a nation, and it's such a catastrophic event that it will make it so they undermine you so much that you are unable to be as powerful as you want to be, well, maybe it's something else you got to look into in yourself, that you're relying too much on Taiwan. In that whole grand scheme of things. Because if it's so important, why did you let it go to begin with? Why are they saying they don't want to be part of China? There's a lot to unpack in what he just said there. And then the second part to unpack, in my opinion, is the mindset. He really does say there's really option A or option B. And he can't really, and you can see in his face that he can't really go about, what else is there? Option A is that they're doing it, what I just said, to undermine all that shit. And he And his option B, there's no option B. I don't know why I'm saying option A and option B. But his rationale to think about this is there's really no other reason for America to do something like that. And for him to come to that rationalization, you would have to think that the world or America as a power isn't ever going to do anything that is to benefit another country. It only does something to benefit itself, and only does things to benefit itself, obviously. But in that mindset, it really goes to show that that is what China, in their sense, is doing. That's all they can think about is happening to another country, because that's all they would do in that sense, is they would benefit themselves. Obviously, that's really, it's not a fact or anything. I'm just saying, in human nature, it is our nature to kind of blame, to throw out to the universe what we're going through and make it the negative parts that we feel and make it the problem of the other person, of somebody else, and not our problem. And I really do think that that's happening here. I really think that China could be right that, America is doing this to undermine China, but it's probably more likely that America is doing this because it's a financial gain for America. And the bonus to that is, we get to keep an eye on our China rival parts, our China rivals in the war and the economic things, keeping them in check. That's a bonus for America, I would think. I really do think that the first instinct of an American thought when this came down to paper and pencil is money. We go protect here. We're going to influence their culture. They're going to want more American shit. We're going to make money off of that. And also they have to pay us for our defenses and all this other shit. We're going to make bank off of this shit. Bam, America, that is America. We're capitalism. That's what we do. We go out and make money. That is the reason we're over there. Period. I don't care what the fuck evidence you throw in front of me. I don't care if you throw a whole tangent of bullshit saying that this is what the reason is. That is the reason. When they put down that paper, the reason is money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. And then there's all sorts of other things that, float up to the surface once they realize, oh, well, we're in this pond, we're in this shitty water, all this shit's floating up to the surface, why don't we pick at it and see what we can do with that shit? As a metaphor.
It looks like US support for Taiwan is only going to increase. One of the few things that America's bitterly divided political system can agree on.
There's one thing you can say that will get both sides of the aisle to support your proposal, and that is, this is against China. So a lot of what we see are US politicians jumping on the bandwagon, which is, I think, really fundamentally an anti-China bandwagon. But they have mistaken the anti-China bandwagon for a pro-Taiwan bandwagon.
From this perspective, American support for Taiwan becomes a paradox. At once essential for its survival, and yet potentially dragging it into the middle of a much larger fight.
I think the danger is greater today than it has ever been before. And I think the primary responsibility for that is in the deteriorating relationship between the US and China, in which both sides are perceiving the other as profoundly threatening and perceiving themselves as behaving defensively. So the US and China are in this spiral of threat and counter-threat and counter-counter-threat, and Taiwan is caught in the middle.
And here in Taiwan itself,
said.
You can't escape that feeling, especially in a place like Jinmen Island, just off the Chinese coast. A place bristling with defenses that have been here for decades.
If you think of Taiwan as a potential front line in a conflict between the United States and China, well then this really has to be the front line of the front line. Here in Jinmen, we look across the bay here to the Chinese city of Xiamen, less than 5 kilometers away through the haze. This is China's doorstep. It feels very, very close. And Jinmen has been directly targeted during China's military exercises, with drones probing at guard posts. In this instance, Taiwanese soldiers were reduced to repelling them with rocks. The incident exposed gaps in Taiwan's defenses.
The Chinese are trying to engage in cognitive warfare. They want to shoot some scenes and to show in their social media, to show that the Taiwanese soldiers are incompetent, things like that.
So what can Taiwan do in the face of such a gigantic threat? The buzzword when talking about defending Taiwan is asymmetrical warfare. The idea that the Taiwanese side will always be outnumbered and outspent by China. So how best to deal with that situation? This is sometimes called a porcupine strategy, to make Taiwan as prickly as possible.
Their job is to buy time in the event of Chinese aggression so that the international community can respond and assist. So it's things like sea mines, anti-ship missiles, air defenses, missile defenses, mobile systems, anything, and actually resistance. I mean, we've seen the power of the population resisting in Ukraine. Well, Taiwan needs to organize itself to be able to mobilize that kind of popular resistance.
This is where people like Enoch Wu come in, training citizens in survival skills. He has a military background and has close connections to Taiwan's government.
Our national survival is Taiwan's biggest challenge of this generation. And so this threat has been around for a long time. What's different is that it's escalating at such a pace. It's important to train in a way that allows our defense to be more resilient and more survivable and more credible. Right? That means being trained to fight and operate in a decentralized manner, right? In a dispersed manner. Right? So these are all work that we need to do because the PLA is continuing to invest in its capability and we need to keep up.
Enoch Wu unapologetically rejects the formula of one China, while stopping short of China's red line on formal independence.
There is one China and there's one Taiwan. I think for all intents and purposes, everyone, the 23 million citizens that live in Taiwan, we understand that we are already independent. The fact that we can vote and decide our own future, chart our own path, means that we're independent.
But others call for a more conciliatory tone towards China. Eric Chu leads Taiwan's opposition Kuomintang Party, or KMT, which ruled for most of Taiwan's post-war history, but is now in opposition. He draws very different lessons from the Ukraine war.
We strongly encourage our government also to create any channel of dialogue, any channel of any possibility to avoid the accident or avoid the crisis of war. Just like whatever happened, you see, in Europe, Ukraine. We strongly support the people of Ukraine to defend their country. But I think Taiwan can learn from the Ukraine war if we can maintain the channel of dialogue between Taiwan and China or Beijing and Washington. I think the risk could be reduced.
Is there any prospect of some historic new breakthrough on the level of the 1970s? Something to finally solve the issues that Kissinger and Zhou Enlai kicked down the road?
I believe that some creativity needs to be applied to this both by the PRC, the United States, and the Taiwanese to get back to a political track somewhere on some formula for the future which might accommodate both sides' long-term political aspirations. Easy to say, hard to do. It certainly won't be one China, two systems.
One country, two systems. That was the deal China struck when it took Hong Kong back from Britain. China's recent repression there has left the idea with little credibility.
One China, three systems, well, That's a possibility. Are there permutations and combinations of some greater Chinese confederation which leaves Taiwan effectively untouched in all of its dimensions, internal and external, short of formal nation-state status? Perhaps that's the basis upon which we should think about encouraging the Chinese and the Taiwanese, both of whom would hate the formula, by the way, to get around a negotiating table to begin to look at other models.
Sure enough, it's hard to detect.
And let's just, why we would both hate that, or why China would hate that, and why Taiwan would hate such an agreement coming is because they both lose what they're fighting for. Obviously, Taiwan's fighting for their independence. If that treaty was set into stone, what it would basically say is it is part of China, but you are your own province in China. You're able to do whatever the fuck you want under this system and rules of the three system rules. It sounded like, so there'd be 3 different rules and systems in the country of China. Each one is separate entity of each other. Therefore, any external and internal affairs that Taiwan would be conducting would be independent of itself, even though it's part of China. Obviously, that would be taking away the independence in a sense, and why China wouldn't like that is because it's not taking them back and reunifying them into China. It's really not. You're not reunifying if you're still letting them run wild and do whatever the fuck they want. They're still gonna be able to do what they do now in the eyes of China. Just a piece of paper saying that those rules that you're conducting are really our rules, so therefore you're our country. It's China wouldn't. They're really not getting to the point where they wanted to, where it's like, oh, the citizens of Taiwan believe they're Chinese. The citizens of Taiwan are still gonna believe they're Taiwanese, and they're still gonna think that, but at the same time, it's still holding over your head. I don't know. So yeah, that's why it could be not really favorable to either side.
Interest in such an approach right now.
The policy of this government is to safeguard the status quo. The status quo that Taiwan is already a democracy. The status quo that Taiwanese people have a say over Taiwan's future.
And yet Beijing has made it very clear that it does not accept the status quo.
They just wish to maintain the status quo, and then this kind of status quo of separation will last forever. So this is not the good wishes or the wishes of many China. We wish to become reunified, but we haven't laid down timetable. So that is why we have to make sure to have all options open.
How long can this tension hold? China refusing to accept the way things are. The US determined to stand in its way. Taiwan clinging on for dear life. All of them know what the stakes would be if it does come to war. Kevin Rudd spelled them out in brutal detail.
A general war involving at least 3 or 4 or 5 countries, including the 3 largest economies in the world, the United States, China, and Japan. Secondly, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Taiwanese civilians dead, because the bottom line is Taiwan would fight. And thirdly, unknown American and Chinese combatants, assuming America became engaged. And finally, the crashing of the global economy, because you would then be thrown into deep recession and probably depression, as there was a seize up in all forms of international commerce and trade and financial markets involving these 3 globally dominant economies.
And yet, when he spoke to us in Taipei, Joseph Wu insisted that in the long run, he's optimistic, although he treads carefully about what might be his greatest hope.
This democracy is going to prevail in the long run. On the contrary, if you look at China's political system, it might look powerful and it might look threatening, but authoritarian regimes might profoundly weak look at their domestic issues that they have to handle these days. Maybe all of a sudden the Chinese people will say that no, this is not what we want. We want something like Taiwan.
So are you counting on the Chinese Communist Party collapsing and democracy coming to China? Is that your greatest hope?
No, that's not what I said, and I'm not going to predict. But we have faith in Taiwan's democracy. As long as we are democratic, I think we will be doing fine.
It sounds like trusting in the tides of history. But in the dangerous years ahead, it will be down to everyone to keep the peace.
Ultimately, it'd be down to those fucking idiots in charge to keep the goddamn peace. But yeah, I think that was, well said. A little bit insight of what the fuck is going on in the world today. So yeah, I'm glad that we all tuned into that and were able to check out what ideas and concepts might be coming from China and Taiwan alongside with America and how we're handling the situation day to day. So in 2023, I hope that we can come to an agreement that satisfies all three parties. Obviously, America will be satisfied. If we get that goddamn bag, we'll be satisfied. And I think Taiwan, hearing what they believe in, it is really just cause to say that, yo, I'm independent now. I've had my independence. You're not taking that away. It'd be like, I have my license. You're not taking my license away. I know how to drive. Now you're taking my license away because you instated my license. I mean, that does happen, but you know what I mean? Like, let's say they randomly took away your goddamn license for no reason. Like, I don't know. It's something to think about. Obviously, we had some hot takes today with the fucking insanity bullshit. And I really do think that it is important to know what is going on in the world around you and be prepared for the worst and for the best scenarios possible. So, yeah, that was the news for the day. That was 2022, 2023 special event news broadcast about what is going on between China and Taiwan. Thank you again for tuning in to today's video. I hope that you enjoyed our first segment, and I do hope that you do have the time to go check out Mr. Ballin, News Channel 5 with Andrew, and Asmongold TV. Now, with that being said, I hope that you had a wonderful 2022. And coming into 2023, I hope everybody's year is fan-fucking-tastic. And let's do it right this time. Fucking A, let's do it right.